I started speaking English after one small promise. Segment 1. The Promise That Changed Everything. Narrator: Daniel. Have you ever made a promise to yourself? A promise so small that nobody would notice it. But inside you, that promise was like a tiny light. It did not look powerful. It did not look brave. But it was the beginning of something that changed your whole life. This is my story. I started speaking English after one small promise. Not after a big course, not after a perfect teacher, not after moving to another country, just after one quiet promise. A promise I made when I was tired of feeling small. Let me take you back. I was in my early 20s. I was working in a small office. It was not a bad job. The salary was okay. The people were polite. But every day I felt a deep fear inside me because English was everywhere in that office. Emails were in English. Reports were in English. Meeting slides were in English. Sometimes even simple greetings were in English. And every time someone spoke English, I felt like my body became tight. My throat became dry. My mind became empty. Even if I knew the meaning, I could not speak. I used to tell myself, one day I will learn English. One day I will be confident. One day I will speak without fear. But that one day never came because I was always waiting for the perfect time, waiting for a free month, waiting for a good teacher, waiting for motivation. Meanwhile, life kept moving, and I kept staying the same. One afternoon, something happened that I still remember clearly. It was a small moment, but it hit my heart like a hard stone. My manager asked me to join a client call. The client was from another country. My manager said, "Daniel, just listen. If they ask you something, you can answer simply." I nodded. I acted calm, but inside I was shaking. The call started. The client spoke fast English. My manager answered smoothly. I listened and tried to understand. I was doing okay. I could follow the main points. Then the client suddenly asked a question. It was not even a hard question. They said, "Daniel, can you tell us the current status of the report?" My manager looked at me. Everyone went quiet. In that moment, I felt my face become hot. My heart was beating fast. I knew the answer. I had worked on that report myself. But my mouth did not move. My brain went blank. I wanted to speak, but I could not. My manager quickly answered instead. He saved me. The call continued. But I did not feel relief. I felt shame. After the call, my manager did not shout. He did not insult me. He only said one thing. He said, "Daniel, you are smart, but you must speak. If you cannot speak, people will never know what you can do." He walked away after saying that. I sat at my desk. I stared at my computer screen, but I could not focus. That sentence was repeating in my mind. You are smart, but you must speak. That evening, I went home quietly. I ate dinner without talking much. My family was watching TV. I sat with them, but my mind was somewhere else. Later that night, I went to my room. I closed the door. I sat on the bed, and for the first time, I asked myself a serious question. How long will I live like this? How long will I stay silent? How long will I hide? I opened my notebook, not a fancy notebook, just a simple one. I wrote a sentence on the first page. I will speak English every day. Then I stopped. That sentence felt too big, too difficult, too heavy. So I crossed it out. Then I wrote a smaller promise, a promise I could actually keep. I will speak one English sentence every day, only one. I stared at it. One sentence. It felt almost silly, like a joke. How can one sentence change anything? But inside, something felt different. One sentence did not feel scary. One sentence did not feel impossible. I told myself, if I can speak one sentence every day, at least I will not stay silent forever. That was my small promise. No one knew about it. No one clapped for it. No one cared. But that night, when I turned off the light and lay down, I felt a quiet peace in my chest. Because for the first time, I was not waiting anymore. I was starting. And the next morning, my promise would be tested. Teaching moment. Promise means a strong decision you make to yourself or someone else. Status means the current situation or progress of something. Silent means not speaking, staying quiet. Shame means a painful feeling because you feel you failed. Segment 2. The first sentence. Narrator: Daniel. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Not because I was excited, but because my mind could not relax. My small promise was sitting inside my head like a question. One English sentence every day. Only one. I brushed my teeth. I washed my face. I looked in the mirror, and I suddenly felt nervous again. My mind said, "What sentence will you speak? What if you cannot think of anything? What if you feel stupid?" Then I remembered something simple. A sentence does not need to be perfect. A sentence just needs to be spoken. So I took a deep breath and said softly, "Today I will do my best." That was it. A small sentence, simple words, nothing special. But the moment I said it, something happened inside me. I felt a tiny shift, a tiny change. It was like my fear moved one step back. It did not disappear, but it became a little quieter. I repeated the sentence again, a little louder. "Today, I will do my best." Then I smiled, not because I was confident, but because I actually did it. I spoke English. I did not run away. I did not delay it. I did not make excuses. I spoke one sentence. When I left my room, it felt strange. It was like I was carrying a small secret, a private mission. At breakfast, my mother asked me, "Why are you awake so early?" I wanted to tell her the truth, but I did not. I just said, I could not sleep. Then I went to the office. All day, my mind kept returning to my promise. I was not thinking about speaking like a fluent person. I was only thinking about my one sentence. That made everything easier. In the afternoon, I chose a sentence for the next day. I will learn something new today. I wrote it in my notebook. I decided to prepare my sentence the night before. That way, the morning would not feel stressful. But something surprising happened. My one sentence started to change my behavior. Before, when I heard English, I used to avoid it. If someone sent an email in English, I would quickly read it and hope nobody asked me anything. Now, I started reading English emails more slowly because I wanted to understand. Because I felt like English was no longer an enemy. It was becoming a small part of my day. Then a new problem came. After 3 days, I ran out of simple sentences. I sat at night with my notebook open. My mind was empty. I could not think of a sentence. I felt frustrated. Then I almost gave up. My mind said, "See, you cannot even keep a small promise. This is why you will never learn English." But I did not want to accept that. So I opened my phone and searched for simple English sentences, not for grammar rules, not for long lessons, just simple sentences. I found many. I am happy today. I feel tired. I need to focus. I will try again. I am improving every day. I copied a few sentences into my notebook. Then I spoke one sentence out loud. I will try again. That sentence was not only for English, it was for my life. After a week, I noticed another strange thing. I started talking to myself in English during small moments. When I was walking to the office, I would say in my mind, "The weather is nice today. I will work hard today. I feel nervous, but I will try." It was not perfect English, but it was English, and it was coming from me. For years, English was something outside me, something other people had, something I watched from far away. Now, English was slowly coming inside my daily life. But the biggest challenge was still waiting, because speaking one sentence alone is easy. Speaking in front of people is different. And soon, I would face that fear again. One day, during lunch, a colleague named Arif sat beside me. He was friendly. He liked jokes. He often spoke a little English, even if his English was not perfect. That day, he looked at me and said, "Daniel, why are you always so quiet? You understand everything, but you never speak. You should practice more." He laughed softly, not to insult me, but to encourage me. I smiled. I said nothing. Then he said something that surprised me. "Let us make a deal. Every day we will speak one English sentence to each other, only one, during lunch." My heart beat fast. This was the moment my promise became real, because now it was not only a private mission. Now it would be public. I wanted to say no. I wanted to escape. But then I remembered my notebook. I remembered the sentence I wrote. I will speak one English sentence every day. So I looked at Arif and said, "Okay, we can try." Arif smiled widely. He said, "Great. Tomorrow we start." That night, I could not sleep easily, because tomorrow my one sentence would be spoken to a person, and that felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Teaching moment. Deal means an agreement between two people. Encourage means to give support and help someone feel brave. Private means something personal, not shared with others. Public means something done in front of other people. Cliff means a high edge, like the edge of a mountain. Segment 3. The Lunch Table Challenge. Narrator, Daniel. The next day, I carried my lunch to the cafeteria, but my hands felt slightly shaky. It was funny. I had joined meetings, answered hard questions in my own language, and handled office pressure, but one simple English sentence at lunch was making me nervous. Because this time, it was not just me and my mirror. It was me and another person. I sat down at the lunch table. Arif was already there, smiling like he was ready for a game. He said, "Good afternoon, Daniel." I froze for 1 second. My mind went empty again, even though I had prepared, even though I knew exactly what I wanted to say. Fear has a strange power. It can erase simple things. Then I remembered, one sentence does not need to be perfect. It only needs to come out. So I forced my lips to move. "Good afternoon, Arif. How are you?" My voice sounded low, like a small child speaking in class. But the sentence came out. The words were real. Arif smiled even more. He said, "I am fine. Today I feel very hungry." Then he laughed, and I laughed too. It felt light. It felt friendly. It did not feel like an exam. He looked at me and said, "See? That was easy." But inside, I knew it was not easy. It was brave. After lunch, I went back to my desk feeling something new. It was not fluency. It was not confidence. It was something simpler. It was progress. That night, I wrote in my notebook, Day 9. I spoke English to Arif. I stared at that sentence for a long time. It felt like proof. Proof that I was changing. The next day, we did it again. One sentence each. I said, "Today is a busy day." Arif said, "I will finish my work early." Some days we laughed because we made mistakes. Some days we repeated the same words again and again, but we did not stop. Slowly, other colleagues noticed. One colleague said, "Why are you speaking English like this? Are you practicing?" Arif proudly said, "Yes, we are learning." A few people smiled. A few people joked. But something interesting happened. Nobody laughed in a cruel way. Nobody insulted us. Nobody tried to stop us. The fear I had in my mind was bigger than the reality. After 2 weeks, I felt ready to add one more thing. I decided that every day I would also learn one new word. Not 20 words, not 50, just one. So my routine became simple. One sentence, one word. In the morning, I would speak my sentence. At night, I would write one word and its meaning. For example, confidence. Confidence means believing you can do something. Practice. Practice means doing something again and again to improve. Courage. Courage means the strength to face fear. Each word felt like a small tool, like something I could carry with me. Then, one afternoon, an email arrived from the manager. There would be a small meeting with the foreign client again. This time, the manager wrote, "Daniel, please present the first 2 slides." When I read that, my stomach dropped. Present. In English. In front of people. My old fear came back like a storm. I wanted to go to the manager and say, "Sir, please do not make me do this. I will fail. I will embarrass myself." But I did not, because something inside me was different now. I was still afraid, but I also had a small belief. I had been speaking one sentence every day for weeks. I had been speaking with Arif. I had been building a habit. So I told myself, maybe I cannot speak perfectly, but I can speak something. That night, I stayed up late. I opened the slides. I read the lines slowly. I practiced the 2 slides again and again. I did not try to sound like a native speaker. I did not try to speak fast. I only tried to speak clearly. I wrote the most important sentences on paper. This slide shows the current progress. We completed 60% of the work. The next step is testing. We will deliver the final report next week. I practiced in front of the mirror like always, but this time it felt more serious. This time it felt like a real test. I made many mistakes. I mispronounced words. I forgot sentences, but I did not stop. At one point, my voice became tired. I sat on the bed. I looked at my notebook on the table. That notebook held my promise. One sentence every day. I opened it and read the first page again. I will speak one English sentence every day. Only one. I smiled. That small promise had brought me here. Now it was leading me into something bigger. The next day, the meeting arrived. I walked into the meeting room with my laptop. My heart was pounding, but my feet did not turn back. I sat beside my manager. The client joined on video. And then my manager looked at me and nodded. It was my turn. Segment 4. The meeting that almost broke me. Narrator. The meeting room was quiet. Not completely silent, but quiet in a way that makes your heartbeat louder than everything else. I could hear the small sound of the air conditioner. I could hear the clicking of my manager's pen. I could hear my own breath. Slow, heavy, and nervous. The client appeared on the screen, a friendly face, but still a foreign face. The kind of face that made my fear rise again. My manager began the meeting. He spoke calmly in English. The client replied quickly. Their words flowed like water, smooth and fast. I was trying to listen, trying to understand, but my mind was stuck on one thought. Soon I have to speak. Then my manager looked at me and said, "Daniel will present the next 2 slides." The client smiled and said, "Okay, Daniel, please go ahead." My hands moved the mouse. I clicked on the slide. My mouth became dry again. It was the same feeling from before, but stronger. Like the fear was saying, Now you will fail in public. I took a deep breath, and I started. This slide shows the current progress. My voice was low, but it was steady. I continued. We completed 60% of the work. I looked at the numbers on the slide. I spoke slowly. I tried to pronounce each word carefully. The next step is testing. I stopped for a second. My mind jumped ahead. I was thinking about the next sentence, and that is when my brain started shaking again. Then the client asked a question. He said, "Daniel, can you explain what kind of testing you will do?" In that moment, everything inside me froze. Because this question was not written in my script. This question was not in my notebook. This question was real. My mind tried to create an answer, but the words did not come. I felt the old fear rising up like a wave. I wanted to look at my manager and ask him to answer, but I also remembered my promise. One sentence every day. So I forced myself to speak, even if the answer was simple. We will do basic testing first. Then we will do final testing. It was not perfect, it was not detailed, but it was something. The client nodded slowly. He said, "Okay, that sounds good." I felt a small relief. My hands stopped shaking a little. Then I finished the slides. We will deliver the final report next week. I stopped. I waited. There was a short pause. Then my manager said, "Great, thank you, Daniel." The client smiled and said, "Thank you, Daniel." And the meeting moved on. I sat quietly for the rest of the meeting. My chest felt tight, but I also felt something else, something warm. I had spoken. I had answered a question. I had survived. After the meeting ended, my manager looked at me and said something I did not expect. He said, "Good job, Daniel. You were nervous, but you did it." Those words felt like water on dry land. Good job. It was a small praise, but it felt huge to me. I went back to my desk and tried to work, but my mind kept replaying the meeting. Not the fear part, the speaking part, the part where I answered the question. That night, when I reached home, I sat with my notebook again. I wrote, "Today I spoke in a real meeting. I answered a question." Then I sat quietly and thought about something important. I always believed I needed confidence to speak. But that day, I spoke without confidence. I was afraid. Still, I spoke. So maybe confidence is not the first step. Maybe the first step is courage. You do not need confidence to start. You need courage to try. And courage grows after you act. That realization stayed with me. But the next challenge was coming soon, a bigger one. Because after that meeting, people started to see me differently. One colleague said, "Daniel, your English is improving." Another colleague said, "You are brave. I would be scared." Even Arif looked proud. He said, "See, I told you, you can do it." But inside, I knew something. I was still not free. I was still not comfortable. Because I was speaking only in short moments. One sentence, 2 slides, a few words at lunch. The real fear was still there. The real fear was speaking naturally, speaking without preparing, speaking when the conversation moved fast. And that fear came back 1 week later. A new client visited the office in person. They were from another country. The manager asked a few of us to join a small welcome meeting. It was not a formal meeting, it was just a friendly introduction. My manager said, "Everyone will introduce themselves. Just your name and what you do. Just one sentence. But when it was my turn, I looked at the client's face. I saw their eyes waiting, and suddenly I felt the same old fear again. Because this time, there were no slides, no script, no paper, only me. I opened my mouth to speak, and nothing came out. I smiled awkwardly. My face became hot. My manager quickly helped. He said, "This is Daniel. He works with our reporting team." The client smiled politely, but I felt something painful. Not shame like before, something deeper. I felt disappointment in myself. That night, I walked home slowly. The streetlights were yellow and calm. People were walking around me, but I felt alone. I kept thinking. I spoke in the meeting, but I failed again in introduction. Why? Why does this keep happening? Then I remembered something. My promise was one sentence every day, but I had been speaking only when I felt safe. Maybe I needed a stronger promise now, a promise that would push me into real-life English. And that night, I made a second promise. Teaching moment. Explain means to describe or make something clear. Praise means kind words that show approval. Awkwardly means in an uncomfortable way. Disappointment means feeling sad because you expected better from yourself. Introduce means to tell your name and who you are. Segment 5. The Second Promise. Narrator, Daniel. That night, I did not open my notebook immediately. I just sat on my bed and stared at the wall. My room was quiet. The world outside was quiet too. But inside my chest, there was noise. I kept seeing the moment in my mind. The foreign client smiling. Everyone watching. My mouth opening. No words coming out. I did not feel the same shame as before. This time, it felt more painful, because I had already improved. I had spoken in meetings. I had practiced every day. I had learned words. So why did I still freeze? Then I understood something important. I was practicing English, but I was still hiding. I was speaking only when I had time to prepare, only when I had control, only when I felt safe. But real speaking does not happen in safe moments. Real speaking happens in real life, fast moments, unexpected moments. And if I wanted to change, I had to practice in that real-life space. I finally opened my notebook. On the first page, my original promise was still there. I will speak one English sentence every day. Only one. That promise had taken me far, but now I needed a new one. I turned to a new page and wrote, I will speak English in one real situation every day. Then I stopped and stared at it. One real situation. It sounded scary, so I made it smaller. I will speak one English sentence to a real person every day. Not to the mirror, not only in my head, to a real person. Then I wrote the rule under it. It can be one sentence. It can be broken English, but it must be spoken. When I finished writing, I felt a strange calm. Not comfort, but clarity. Now I knew what I had to do. The next day, I started immediately. In the morning, when I entered the office, the security guard said hello in our language. I smiled and replied, "Good morning. Have a nice day." He looked surprised for a second, then smiled. He said, "Thank you, sir." It was one sentence. It was real. It was done. That afternoon, I went to the coffee corner. A colleague was making tea. He looked at me and said, "Tea?" Usually, I would say yes in my language, but this time I said, "Yes, please, thank you." Again, a small moment, but real. I started finding these small chances everywhere. When someone held the elevator door for me, I said, "Thank you." When someone asked me if I finished a task, I said, "Yes, I completed it." When someone asked how my day was, I said, "It is going well." My English sentences were not long, but they were alive. They were moving through the day. At first, I felt awkward. Some people looked at me strangely. Some smiled. A few joked gently. But nobody was cruel. Nobody attacked me. And slowly, the awkward feelings started to fade. Because something important was happening. I was training my brain. Before, my brain had one habit. When English came, freeze. Now, my brain was learning a new habit. When English came, speak something. Even if it was simple, even if it was not perfect. 1 week later, I noticed a big change. When someone spoke English near me, I did not panic immediately. I still felt nervous, but my mind did not go blank. It was like my brain was finally understanding. English is not danger. English is just communication. Then something happened that tested my second promise in a stronger way. One afternoon, my manager called me into his room. He closed the door. He looked serious. My heart started beating fast. Serious meetings always made me nervous. He said, "Daniel, next month we will have a training session with the client team. It will be online. You will need to speak more, not just 2 slides. You will need to answer questions. You will need to explain your work." I swallowed. He continued, "I want you to lead one section, around 10 minutes. 10 minutes? My mind started screaming, I cannot do that. I will fail. My English is not enough. But I did not say those words. Instead, I said something else. I said, "Okay, sir, I will try." My manager looked closely at me, then he nodded. He said, "Good. I believe you can." I left his room and walked slowly back to my desk. My legs felt weak. 10 minutes in English. That night, I wanted to escape. I wanted to forget it. I wanted to tell myself, maybe I will do it later. But then I remembered the 2 promises. One sentence every day. One real sentence to a real person every day. Those promises were my ladder. They were helping me climb. I sat down and made a plan. Not a big one, a simple one. Every day, I will practice 1 minute of speaking about my work. Only 1 minute. I set a timer on my phone. 1 minute. The first day, I said out loud, "Today, I worked on the report. I updated the numbers. I checked the data." My sentences were slow and broken, but I spoke for 1 minute. The second day, I did it again. I explained what I did. I explained a small task. I explained one process. 1 minute every day. After a week, 1 minute became 2 minutes. 2 minutes became 3. And without noticing, I was preparing for the 10 minutes. Then one evening, while practicing alone, I realized something. The promise was not the magic. The magic was the daily action. Small action every day. That's how fear becomes smaller. That's how confidence grows. Teaching moment. Situation means a moment or condition in real life. Awkward means uncomfortable or strange. Fade means slowly disappear. Lead means to guide or be responsible for something. Timer means a tool that counts time. Segment 6. The Day My Voice Became Mine. Narrator, Daniel. The weeks before the training session felt like a long road. Not a road with loud excitement, but a road with quiet pressure. Every day I did my 1-minute speaking practice. Every day I spoke one English sentence to a real person. Every day I wrote one new word in my notebook. Some days I felt strong. Some days I felt tired. Some days I felt like nothing was improving. But I kept going because my promises were not based on feelings, they were based on discipline. One evening, Arif noticed me staying late at the office. He came to my desk and asked, "Daniel, why are you working so late?" I looked up and said, "I'm preparing for the client training session. I need to speak for 10 minutes." Arif's eyes became wide. 10 minutes in English? That is big. I nodded. I tried to smile, but my fear was visible. Arif pulled a chair and sat beside me. He said, "Okay, let us practice." I felt surprised. He said, "I will listen, you speak. Then I will ask you questions like a client." My heart beat fast again, but this time it was not only fear, it was also gratitude. We started. I opened my notes and began to speak. "Good morning, everyone. Today I will explain our current reporting process." My voice was shaking in the first 30 seconds, but Arif nodded, telling me to continue. I said, "First, we collect the data from different sources. Then, we clean the data. After that, we check for errors. Finally, we prepare the report." Then, Arif raised his hand like a client. He said, "Daniel, what do you do if you find missing data?" I froze for a moment. Then I remembered the most important rule. Do not stay silent. Speak something. So I answered slowly. If we find missing data, we contact the team. We confirm the correct information. Then we update the report. Arif nodded. He asked another question. What is the biggest challenge in this process? This question was harder. I did not have a perfect answer, but I still spoke. The biggest challenge is time. Sometimes we have short deadlines. Also, sometimes data comes late. Arif smiled. He said, "Perfect. That is real. That is how you answer." We practiced for almost 1 hour. My throat became dry. My brain became tired. But when we finished, I felt something I had not felt before. I felt ready. Not fully ready, not perfect, but ready enough. The next day, we practiced again for 30 minutes. This time, my voice was stronger. My sentences came faster. My pauses became shorter. And something happened. I started speaking without reading. I looked at the screen and spoke from memory. I was not just repeating words, I was communicating. That was the first time I understood a deep truth. English is not a subject. English is a tool. You do not use a tool by thinking about it. You use it by using it. The training session day arrived. I woke up early. I did not eat much. My stomach was nervous. I wore a simple, clean shirt. I checked my internet, my laptop, my notes. My manager messaged me, "Be ready. You will speak in the second part." My heart started pounding again. I sat at my desk, listening to the meeting. The client team was talking. My manager was introducing the topics. Then he said, "Now, Daniel will explain the reporting process and answer your questions." I swallowed. Then I turned on my microphone. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining." My voice sounded calm. I was shocked. I continued. "Today, I will explain our reporting process. I will also answer any questions you have." I moved through the points slowly, just like I practiced. My voice did not shake much. My hands did not shake much. Then the questions started. One person asked, "How long does the process take?" I answered, "Usually it takes 2 days, but it depends on data availability." Another person asked, "What do you do if you find mistakes after sending the report?" I answered, "If we find mistakes, we correct them immediately. We send an updated version and explain the change." Then someone asked a question I did not expect.
Why do you think your reporting system is reliable? That word, reliable, was strong. My mind paused, but it did not go blank. I remembered my daily practice, one sentence every day, one real sentence every day, 1 minute speaking every day. So I said, our system is reliable because we check the data in multiple steps. We also review the report before delivery. We follow a fixed process. The client team nodded. One person said, "Thank you, Daniel. Your explanation is very clear." Clear. That word entered my heart deeply. I finished my section. My manager moved to the next part. I muted my microphone and sat back. My chest was rising and falling quickly, but I was not panicking. I was feeling something else. I was feeling pride. After the session ended, my manager sent me a message. "Great work. You handled questions well." Arif messaged me too. "I told you, you can do it." That evening, I went home and sat on my bed. I opened my notebook and wrote, "Today, I spoke for 10 minutes. I answered questions. I was clear." Then I put my pen down and stayed quiet. I realized something. For many years, my voice was trapped inside me. Not because I had no ideas, not because I was not smart, because fear was holding my voice. But that day, my voice became mine. Not perfect, not fluent like a native speaker, but real. And once your voice becomes real, everything changes. Teaching moment. Pressure means a strong feeling of stress or responsibility. Deadline means the last time to finish something. Reliable means something you can trust. Availability means when something is ready or present. Pride means a good feeling because you achieved something.
Segment 7. What changed after that day? Narrator, Daniel. After the training session, I expected my fear to disappear completely. I expected to wake up one morning and suddenly feel fluent and confident. But that did not happen. The truth is, fear does not leave in one day. Fear leaves slowly. But something did change. Before that day, English was a wall in front of me. After that day, English became a door. Not a fully open door, but a door I could push. The next week at the office, something simple happened. A foreign client sent an email and asked a question. My manager forwarded it to me and said, "Daniel, can you reply?" I stared at the email. In the past, that would have scared me. I would have written a draft, deleted it, written again, waited, overthought every word. But this time, I opened a blank reply and started typing. "Hello, thank you for your email. Yes, the report will be ready by Thursday. If you have any other questions, please let me know." I read it once, I checked the spelling, and I sent it. That was it. No panic, no drama. I sat back and thought, is this really me? Then I understood something very important. When you practice small actions daily, big actions start to feel normal. My English was not perfect, but my mind was becoming calm. And calm is the real power. Then another change happened. People started including me more. In meetings, my manager sometimes asked, "Daniel, what do you think?" Before, that question would make my heart stop. Now I could answer. Not with long sentences, but with clear, simple sentences. I would say, "I think this is a good idea. I suggest we check the data first. Maybe we can deliver it on Friday." And even if my grammar was not perfect, people understood me, and they respected me. That was another lesson. People do not need perfect English. People need clear English. Then something happened outside the office too. One evening I was in a small shop. A foreign tourist entered. He looked confused. He asked the shopkeeper in English, "Where can I find a pharmacy?" The shopkeeper looked nervous and silent. I was standing nearby. For 1 second, my old fear appeared again. But then my new habit took control. Speak something. So I stepped forward and said, "Pharmacy is near here. You go straight and turn left. It is beside the bank." The tourist smiled widely. He said, "Thank you so much." I nodded and smiled. As he walked away, my heart felt warm, not because my English was amazing, but because I helped someone. And I realized English is not only for jobs, English is for life. That night, I thought about my old self, the version of me who stayed silent in meetings, the version of me who avoided eye contact when someone spoke English, the version of me who believed I was not capable. I wanted to go back and tell him something. I wanted to say, "You are not weak. You are only untrained." Because that is what I learned. Speaking English is not about talent. It is about training. Then I decided to do one more thing. I wanted to protect my progress. I wanted to keep growing. So I created a simple lifestyle. Every day, one sentence to a real person. Every day, 1 minute speaking practice. Every day, one new word. Every week, one longer speaking session with Arif. This routine became part of my identity, not like a strict punishment, like a calm daily habit. And slowly, English became normal. Then, after 2 months, my manager called me again. He said, "Daniel, we have a new project. I want you to communicate with the client directly. You will join the calls, you will send updates, you will be responsible for one part of the project." I listened quietly. This was not a test. This was trust. My manager trusted me because he could see something. He could see I was trying. He could see I was improving. He could see I was speaking. And that trust changed how I saw myself. I said, "Thank you, sir. I will do my best." When I walked out of his room, I felt tall inside. Not arrogant, just stronger. Then I remembered the first moment, the night I wrote my first promise. One sentence every day. That small promise was not just about English. It was about choosing a new life. The life where I do not hide. The life where I do not stay silent. The life where I try, even when I fear. And that is why I believe something strongly now. If you are listening to this story and you feel the same fear I felt, remember, you do not need a big plan to change. You need a small promise, and you need to keep it. Segment 8. The Small Promise for You. Now I want to tell you what I wish someone had told me earlier. You do not need to become fluent first. You do not need to become fearless first. You do not need perfect grammar first. You just need to start. Because the truth is simple. Fluency comes after you speak. Confidence comes after you try. Courage comes after you act. When I was silent, I thought English was a mountain. Too high, too far, too impossible. I thought only special people could climb it. But now I know. English is not one big mountain. English is many small steps. And each small step matters. When I made my first promise, I was not brave. I was tired. I was tired of feeling small. I was tired of hiding. I was tired of watching others move forward while I stayed stuck. That tired feeling became my turning point. I did not change my life in one day. I changed it in one small sentence every day. That is how I started speaking English. So now I want to give you something. Not a big challenge, not a heavy pressure. A small promise you can keep. Here is the promise. I will speak one English sentence every day. That is it. One sentence. If you are shy, speak it to your mirror. If you are nervous, speak it softly. If you are busy, speak it while walking. If you have no confidence, speak it anyway. Because when you speak one sentence today, you will speak 2 sentences tomorrow. And after some weeks, you will notice something powerful. Your fear will become quieter. Your mind will become faster. Your voice will feel natural. And one day, you will speak in real situations, in the office, in an interview, in a meeting, in life. It will not happen because you were special. It will happen because you trained. That is the difference. Talent is not needed. A small promise is needed. Let me recap the key lessons from my story. Lesson 1. A small promise is stronger than a big dream because a small promise is something you can do today. Lesson 2. You do not need confidence to start. You need courage to try. Confidence comes later. Lesson 3. Speak in real-life situations. Even one sentence to a real person can change your brain. Lesson 4. Practice daily, not perfectly, daily. Lesson 5. Your English does not need to be perfect. It needs to be clear. Now, before we end, I want to teach you a few simple English sentences you can use starting today. These are strong, useful sentences for daily life. Today, I will do my best. I am improving every day. I feel nervous, but I will try. Can you repeat that slowly, please? Thank you for your help. I am learning English step by step. I am not perfect, but I am trying. I will not give up. Say one of these sentences today, out loud, even if you whisper. And when you finish, write it somewhere, in a notebook, on your phone, on a paper. Because every time you see it, you will remember. You are not stuck. You are starting. And maybe, just like me, one day you will look back and smile. You will realize that everything changed because of one small promise. Now, if you enjoyed this peaceful story, and if it made you feel calm and motivated, please like this video and subscribe to Peaceful English Stories. And if you want more stories like this, write in the comments. I will speak one English sentence every day. Because when you write it, it becomes your promise too. Thank you for listening. I am Daniel, and I believe in your voice. Teaching moment. Fluency means speaking smoothly and naturally. Whisper means speaking very softly. Recap means a short summary of what we learned. Step by step means slowly, one small part at a time. Subscribe means to follow a channel to watch more videos.